I came home to a bulldozer sitting right where my living room should have been, just squatting there like it belonged, and the president of the HOA, Janice Weld, God, that smirk, stood right in the debris with her little clipboard, waving a demolition invoice like she was handing out a party invitation. She called the place I built with my wife, Laura, an unauthorized structure, said I was trespassing on land that had been in my family for 100 years. I remember thinking, you people really believe I'm just going to let this happen? They thought their fake documents and rigged meetings had me beat, that I'd roll over like everyone else. But see, while they were busy bulldozing my past, I was quietly working on owning their future, and I mean that literally. You ever feel like the universe lines up a showdown just for you? That was this day. My grandson Leo was snoring softly in the seat next to me, his fishing rod knocking against the dash, and the sun was one of those old gold afternoons that makes you think nothing can go wrong. I turned down my gravel drive and my heart just stopped. Half my house, Laura's porch, all of it, just gone. Janice standing there in her ridiculous flower blouse, two board members behind her shifting their feet like kids caught smoking. Leo blinked awake, stared, and whispered, "Grandpa, what happened to our house?" I squeezed his shoulder so I wouldn't shake. I stepped out, boots heavy, walked up to Janice, and in that voice I learned to use back in the army when things got hairy, I just said, "Janice, what is this?" She didn't even blink. "Afternoon, Tom. Preparatory work for the cul-de-sac. Unanimously approved. Your home was illegally placed. Clear encroachment." I mean, she said it like we were discussing a fence needing paint. I told her, we built this ourselves, had permits, surveys. Hell, Laura picked the stain for that porch. Didn't matter. Gary, one of her yes men, mumbled, "You'll get an invoice for demo and debris removal." I almost laughed. They knock my home down, and then bill me for the favor. You ever feel rage so cold it makes you calm? That's where I was. I spent the next day digging through county records, Leo staying with his dad, my hands black with dust and old paper. And there it was, a decades-old surveyor's typo, drawing the property line through my living room. That should have been good news, except the HOA's lawyer had just filed a plat clarification a few weeks earlier, twisting that error in their favor. They didn't stumble onto a mistake. They hunted for it, weaponized it, and ran it through a backdoor vote nobody even knew about. Standing in the ruins of my porch, I felt like they'd bulldozed Laura herself. The mail carrier wouldn't meet my eye as she handed me a letter, certified, naturally. The HOA's lawyers claimed I owed fines, had to vacate, or pay $500 a day until I removed the structure. The house Laura and I built, on land my dad and granddad worked, now labeled a public nuisance, something to be swept away. I tried to do things right. As an engineer, I still believe in data and blueprints. I gathered every deed, every signed permit, every plat. Walked into the next HOA meeting with my file. Didn't raise my voice. Laid it all out, clear as day. Janice just yawned. "We modernized the plan. You're grandfathered into nothing. Not the Wild West, Tom." Some folks chuckled, probably wishing they were anywhere else. That was the moment I realized facts didn't matter here. Then the harassment started. Fines stacked up, mailbox smashed to bits, Laura's dogwoods poisoned, killed right at the root. The people who'd borrowed my tools or waved hello suddenly found other places to look when I drove by. I patched up the house with tarps, told Leo, nobody's taking our home, but for the first time, I wasn't sure. One night, sitting in what was left of the kitchen, I cried for the first time since Laura died, quiet, so Leo wouldn't hear. Next morning, the deputy came out to look at the mess. "Civil matters, sir. Not much we can do." That's when it all clicked. The real goal wasn't a road. Weeks later, big signs went up, Meadows at Bridle Creek, Phase 4. They wanted condos where my house stood. Then came the last straw, a lien, foreclosure threat, all from fines and demolition fees. They were erasing me. I gathered new paperwork and walked into a quiet title office in town. The time for reason was over. I started thinking like an engineer again, but now I was looking for leverage, not fairness. I dug out topo maps, easements, found a thin 30-foot drainage strip I'd kept when I sold those parcels years back. It looked useless to most, but the whole subdivision's drainage ran right under it. Their new road paved straight over my legal right-of-way. I waited for a storm, set up a camera, and filmed as water swallowed their precious new road. Turns out, Shoddy construction plus ignored drainage equals instant lake. Sent them the video, demanded they halt work, fix the flooding, or face legal action. Their response: lawyered up, slapped me with a restraining order, claimed I was intimidating staff. Next thing I knew, I couldn't even approach my own land. Then, out of nowhere, comes Nate Holloway, a gruff old plumber, never had time for gossip, shows up with blueprints showing the old clay pipes running right under their road. They break if you look at him wrong. Nate growled, eyes twinkling. He handed me the maps and left, no more words needed. With Nate's evidence and my footage, my lawyer got us an emergency hearing, but the HOA's suit-and-tie mouthpiece spun the restraining order into a 6-month delay. The judge barely looked up. My hope shrank. Fines mounted, the lien hung heavier, and it looked like they'd win. Then, pure luck, on a grocery run, I noticed a for sale sign half hidden in the weeds by the subdivision clubhouse. Turned out the land under the HOA's fancy meeting spot was owned by an out-of-state investor, up for grabs. I made a full cash offer, over asking, closed in 72 hours. Just like that, I owned the ground under their feet. I filed the deed myself, then hired Margaret, a tough-as-nails appraiser, to comb through the clubhouse for code violations. While she worked, I taped a notice to vacate right over their event flyers. Less than 2 hours later, Janice herself screeched into my driveway, waving the notice and screaming harassment. I handed her a copy of the deed, explained that her lease had a default clause for illegal construction, like, say, building a road over someone else's property. Her color drained. For once, she didn't have a comeback. The next day, the HOA offered a fat settlement. Drop everything, silence me, fix the house. My answer was no. This wasn't about money. This was about showing people you can fight back. A young reporter picked up the story, ran it with my photos and footage. The neighborhood came alive. Folks who'd been scared started sharing their own HOA horror stories. I called an emergency meeting, packed the clubhouse with neighbors, and laid out every piece of evidence. The real deeds, photos of the flooding, proof of the bogus vote. When I revealed I now owned the clubhouse land, you could feel the room turn. Janice went white as chalk. Her board lawyer stammered. And in that moment, everyone saw the emperor had no clothes. We voted the board out on the spot, replaced them with a temporary committee. But as Nate warned me, humiliation fuels desperate people. 3 days later, I woke to the rumble of a backhoe. Janice, now just a spiteful ex-president, had hired a couple of toughs to clear the nuisance. I didn't yell. I just filmed as their crew tore into my yard. Right until the backhoe broke my septic line, raw sewage spilling down into the creek. That's when I called 911 and the EPA. Suddenly, my property was crawling with deputies and environmental agents. Janice tried to talk her way out of it, but she was cuffed, hauled off, her crew charged with illegal dumping. The story hit the news and then went national. My video looping on every station, the HOA exposed for fraud, the road plan dead in the water. The county reviewed everything, declared the road vote illegal, the plat fake. I won the suit, got damages and a rebuild, and the whole board slunk off in disgrace. Janice moved out, her lawyer under investigation. The new HOA board, decent people for once, rewrote the bylaws, stripped out the garbage, made the association work for the neighborhood instead of against it. A year later, I sit on my new porch, Leo playing in the yard, and I think about Laura. We planted 2 new dogwoods where hers used to stand. The plaque on the porch says, "Home is worth defending." It's not just about lumber and nails, or who owns a patch of dirt. It's about the lives built there, and the people who stand up for what's right, even when it costs everything. You know, justice doesn't always come from a judge. It comes from stubborn old men and neighbors willing to stand together. The war came to my door. I didn't start it, but I damn well finished it. Now let me ask you, was I right to fight back the way I did? Or did I just become the thing I was fighting? Drop your thoughts below, because I know I'm not the only one who's ever been pushed too far. And hey, if you're tired of bullies with clipboards running the show, hit that like button, share your own story, and subscribe. This fight, my friend, is far from over.